nights, headphones tight. Yet another podcast about Spurs.
Hello and welcome back to YAPS, yet another podcast about Spurs. It's episode 10, and as we wave goodbye to April, we also wave goodbye to our 10-pole Tudor interim coach Eagle. Despite the appointment of a new manager, Spurs remain in harm's way with relegation still much more than a minor threat. The story so far of Zerbi's tenure has been a mixed one, losing Romero to a fucked-up Brian Brobby challenge against Sunderland, for which he was wrongly not shown a second yellow card. Fans poured through the turnstile for the Brighton game, full of hope, and for a moment it looked like the wonder years were back, but it was all to no avail. We displayed a familiar glass jaw as Brighton hit back for their equalisers. The clash against Wolves suggested that we'd knocked loose some of the negativity surrounding us, but it came with injuries to Xavi Simons and Solanke to leave a rancid taste in most fans' mouths. The offspring of Joe Lewis and their penny-wise but pound-foolish approach have left us with a squad of misfits still neck-deep in a relegation fight. Dropping to the Championship would be an all-time low, but there's still a chance we can be the comeback kid of the season, to follow De Zerbi's simple plan of winning all our games and hope our points somewhere around 41 and make it to the starting line of next season still in the Premier League. I am joined today by Stu. Much like Tottenham, we have a very depleted lineup at the moment. Welcome, Stu. No cruciate injuries as of yet.
No, I've had my cruciate injury. I don't really want another one, and I will avoid all strenuous activity in an attempt to permanently avoid it.
Great. That is awesome. Stay away from retractable pitches, please. That is something we may talk about later.
We are not talking about that. We're not going down that route.
Let's start with the football then. So there's not that many matches to actually talk about because in April we had international breaks and FA Cup weeks and Carabao Cup finals. But we've got the Sunderland away, which was a 1-0 loss, Brighton 2-2 draw at home, and Wolves a 1-0 away win, the first of the year. But with that, as we've mentioned already, injuries to Xavi Simons and Solanke that are gonna keep them out for the rest of the season. How are you feeling?
I think anybody who's watched CADS or has been in contact with me on Blue Sky knows I am fully resigned to us playing in the Championship next season. I'm starting to go think like, okay, this is the opportunity to have a clear out and start again, and everybody can be fresh and happy, and we'll probably do well and have an enjoyable year next year before we go back into the dank misery of Premier League football with meat wall tactics and VAR. Just a season without VAR will be a refreshing palate cleanser, frankly.
I think we're both optimistic in different kinds of ways about what's happening because I still think we're gonna stay up just about by the skin of our teeth. I feel that a lot of this is about momentum, and the momentum is starting to turn in a way we didn't really see under our previous managers. I think, we had many false storms under Frank and Tudor. Got to remember all the managers we've had this season. It feels like we've had loads of them. But yeah, I just feel Brighton in a good footballing performance that we were quite unlucky to only come away with a draw and grinding out a scrappy away win in a place where we very rarely get results gives me a lot to feel positive about. And I do think we're playing better than we have all season.
Sunderland, maybe not so much. We weren't particularly dangerous in that game. Brighton, I thought we took a decent step up. I thought we looked much, much better. And, it's clear that we were unfortunate to not get 3 points in that one. But then if you look at the form that Brighton were in leading up to that game and the way they've played since, Brighton are a bloody good side. And you can't really complain too much about getting a point against them because a point is way more than we should have been expecting, really. So I'm going to take that as a bonus point. I never really expected us to win that game, but I'll take that as a bonus point. Wolves was a game I thought we would win, even with Tudor, potentially even with Frank. It would have been a much less enjoyable game under Thomas Frank, but I think we probably would have won it anyway, although we didn't beat them earlier in the season. So the results aren't a problem. Losing to Sunderland, good form. We're a side that is struggling and have struggled for most of the season. Drawing with Brighton, that's fine. And winning against Wolves was kind of expected. The results are not an issue. It's the emotion, it's the vibes that go along with it. And I think that we needed to really rout Wolves to build up some confidence and a little bit more momentum. You said momentum earlier, right? And there's always a side in the Premier League that just drops down towards the end of the season and gets stuck and mired in there. Sometimes it's on the last weekend. Sometimes it's a few games before. And I just feel this season that's Tottenham. And there's always a side that gets some wind behind them and pushes on. And for this season, that's West Ham. And I'm just like, we've got the two worst possibilities for us. West Ham are going to get out of trouble, and we're continuing to just not do well enough. And West Ham have some tough games, but we don't have particularly easy, winnable games left in the season now. And that's a worry for me.
I sort of see your point, and I think in previous history, yes, that has happened. But I feel the team that are pulling away and getting themselves out of it are Forest, not West Ham. West Ham, I watched the Palace game. They looked very poor in that, and they were lucky at the weekend to get a win out of that Everton game. Everton should have definitely had a penalty, and they should have come away with a point.
Lawyers, listen in.
Yeah, I just think I'm not ready to fully write us off just yet. I think there is hope there. I think there is hope that we can catch West Ham, not so much that we can catch Forest anymore. I feel like Forest are out of it, but I do think there's still a distinct chance that if West Ham have got to go to Brentford, if they drop points there and we can somehow get something out of that Villa game, which sounds like a hard ask, but I think a couple of seasons ago we absolutely thumped them under Ange. So they're not unbeatable. And I think that was away. I think that was at their place. We can do Villa on our day. And I think if that happens, that momentum swing will be enough. West Ham have to go to Arsenal next. Arsenal can maybe take some points off them and do us a bit of a favour. And we've got Leeds.
Never done us a favour.
No, you're right. But I mean, they've never really been going for the title in these circumstances before, have they? So, I feel like we could have 2 weeks that could go our way, and I think if those 2 weeks go our way, I think we can match West Ham for the rest of the season. That's all we'll have to do, because we've got goal difference on them, or we'll have a points lead by then. Next 2 weeks, I think, pivotal in my mind.
I hope you're right. The thing is, a lot of people are going like, "Oh, you're throwing the season away." I've had people complaining to me that I will be upset if Tottenham get out of this. I was like, I will be absolutely delighted if Tottenham get out of this. I am thoroughly happy to be wrong on this and pretty much any other instance. I'm not one of these people who puts my personal beliefs over what I want to happen. Right? I want Spurs to get out of it. I just don't think they will. I'm not going to be happy if Spurs get relegated. I'm not going to be upset if Spurs manage to get out of this. I will be absolutely delighted if Spurs get out of this. Is it likely to happen? And I genuinely don't think it is. But that's just where I'm. Perhaps it's a bizarre attempt at saving my mental health. I don't know, because if just accepting it,
Yeah, I don't think there's an issue with that right? Everyone deals with these things differently,
Yeah.
right? And if the coping mechanism is expecting the worst and hoping for the best, and that's how you prepare
Hmm.
yourself. I think that's a completely valid approach, right? And there are a lot of people I think who kind of do want us to go down a little bit, but kind of not so much to prove themselves right, but because they feel like it will be a hard reset for the club
Yeah.
that we arguably need. And I don't necessarily disagree with that aspect of it. I just feel relegation is way too high of a price to pay to force that kind of reset. Um, it's sort of fraught with risk that if we don't come up in that first season, which I think we would, but if we
Hmm.
didn't, we could find ourselves, you know, I think finding ourselves in the position of a team like Leicester is a bit extreme on the negative side of things, but we could well end up being a bit like a Norwich, in Ipswich, being a relatively big club, Middlesbrough at that level that
Yeah.
maybe kind of goes up and down for a few years until we eventually establish ourselves in one division or another. And I just think that's too much of a risk. So I can't really get on board with the going down would be a good thing brigade
Oh
as
no.
as much as I understand their position.
It would not be a good thing in any way, but if you talk about the hard reset, I think a hard reset is coming anyway. Whatever happens this summer is going to see a significant number of players leaving the club. I mean, I've been through the list many, many times, and I've got a long list of blacked out names of people who will be leaving. And realistically, yes, there are some big names on there, but there's no one that can't be replaced. There's no one who's so important to us that, oh, this is going to kill the club for the next 20 years. There's nobody like that. I don't think we have a player like that at the club currently. You know, we don't have a Sonny, we don't have a Kane. Those are players whose departures actually hurt us. So, okay, we will replace the players that leave and we'll get on with it.
I think there's a few players that would hurt me if they went,
Hmm.
but they are more of the younger players. I would be heartbroken if Archie Gray left and
Oh,
we
me too.
didn't get the best out of him.
Yeah,
I'd be really upset if Luka Vuskovic never played in a Spurs shirt in a competitive game.
Beraval. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Those sort of players. Odebear as well. I still think he hasn't really had a chance to shine. Mattis Tell. I'd like to see a few more seasons of him. It's those players. It's the players that I feel there's more potential to see great things out of.
yeah,
I mean, I'll be honest with you, and with no disrespect to any of these players, I'm not going to be heartbroken if Dominic Solanke leaves, if Vicario leaves, even if Van der Ven leaves. To be honest, it'd be disappointing to lose good players, but heartbroken? No, no, I
yeah.
wouldn't feel that.
I think I love Van der Ven as a player. I mean, I've got his
Oh
name
yeah,
on the back
totally.
of my shirt. I think he's a fantastic player. But he's not going to play in the Championship. He's not going to stay at a club that's struggling down at the bottom end of the Premier League. And he's such a skill-specific player. You kind of have to play in a certain way to make the most out of him. Ange did that. Thomas Frank didn't. And, I don't think we can set up our defence around a player who's got such one mind-blowing skill of outright pace. And realistically, we got two of them because Jed Spence seems to be almost as quick, if not quicker. It's great having fast defenders, but relying on fast defenders is a bit of a concern. And if we could just go for a bit of stability at the back and good organisation, I think we'd probably have more clean sheets than we have seen over the last season or so. I mean, I just remember when Manchester United had like this all-star defence and everybody got injured and they left with John O'Shea and what's his name? Brown, right?
Yeah, was Brown.
Uh, yeah. And they had a better defensive record than their all-star players because all they did was the simple stuff, right? Defended properly, played it simple, and ended up with more wins, more clean sheets, and just generally being better side. Of course, as soon as their high-priced defenders came back, they came back into the team. But I think we could drop down into the Championship. We could keep players like Danso, potentially keep players like Dragoshin, supplement them with Phillips, who's been great, not great, but who's done well at Stoke, and bring Luka Vuskovic. And right now is your chance to establish yourself as a defender who will be playing in the Premier League next year. So that's the way I keep looking at it.
Definitely. And obviously, like, all the squad building for next season we'll probably get onto in next month's episode, or maybe in the month after.
Because next month we'll have an idea of where we'll have an idea.
Yeah,
we will know.
Exactly. You mentioned Spencer. Spencer's actually another one I'd be quite sad to see go if he did. But I've got a feeling we might hang on to him no matter what. I kind of feel like there's a bit of a familiar feeling about how I feel about the players like Romero and Van der Ven, and I think even Porro to an extent, but maybe not so much as the other two. That remember when we had players like Berbatov, and it'd be like, yeah, he's brilliant and he's great and he's our best player by a mile, but someone's going to come and buy him and he's going to leave. And I as much as I love Berbatov, I was prevented from feeling that sense of attachment towards him because I kind of knew he was gonna go, and there was always talk about him going somewhere else, and eventually did, and he went to Man United. And I'm not saying that Van der Ven and Romero are gonna go to another Premier League club, as I think we're not as likely to sell to rivals now, but yeah, it just feels a little bit like that. But I'm kind of resigned to not getting too attached to those two because they will go sooner or later, regardless of what happens. So
yeah, that's your self-protection for your mental health.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Whereas
I see it.
yeah, definitely. I think we probably should talk about the injuries a little bit as well.
Yes.
that have come up. Now, I don't really want to get into the kind of whys and wherefores and speculating about whether a retractable pitch has been involved in crocking all of our players, or or really about the medical team. Really, I think we probably just have to. I want to have a conversation about these players are out. What can we do? How do we get through the rest of this season without Solanke and Siemens?
I mean, Solanke, we have a replacement who we can slot straight in. He may not be fully fit all the time. He may not be as mobile as we want, but Richarlison is, a Brazilian striker who has scored some important goals for us, who has got battling attributes that we love to see. And whenever I see him playing for us against a side that is also down there in areas of struggle, I'm like, okay, I don't think he's going to let us down. I certainly want to see him play against Everton because although he doesn't want to celebrate scoring against them, he does seem to score against them on a reasonably regular basis. So that's okay with me. He can come in. It's who his backup is really. I mean, Randall Colomwani is the obvious choice, but Randall Colomwani is going to be needed for the right. And then if you're going to go, okay, well, who's the third choice? Well, that would be Matty Stell. Matty Stell's needed for the left. So how is this going to work out? Unless we do something absolutely nuts and we throw James Maddison back in to start against Villa, which would be insane and just asking for another injury, then I think that's what we have to go with. We have to go with organisation. We have to go with high press and pushing hard to create mistakes from the opposition and push them to make mistakes and go from there. I think that's all we have left now. I think as the season goes on, the last couple of games, we'll be able to get James Maddison onto pitch for a little bit. I personally would love to see us give some time to a couple of youngsters. I think Tyler Thompson is doing so well in the under-21s. He looks really dangerous. He's got the ability to create real separation between him and his defenders. And I think we need that. He's got some, he's tricky. he's not someone you can predict. He's unpredictable in what he does, and I think we need a bit of that in our attack as well. And look at Williams Barnett. Luke Williams Barnett should be in this side. He should be coming on for 15, 20 minutes, but he's got his own little injury problems at just the wrong time, because right now he would be the first player to come off the bench, I think.
Yeah, I think Zerbi was asked about him and Janai Byfield as well, and he sort of more or less ruled them out and said no, they're not gonna be featuring for us. But I know Mason Mellier's been training with the first team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not holding out too much. I think people have a tendency to get very excited about these young players, like understandably. I'm not expecting to see him only in a very extreme scenario where we literally had no one else. I think it's great if he gets some experience and gets to be on the bench in Premier League games. I think people are getting a little bit overexcited about his potential to actually factor into a Premier League relegation battle.
Agreed.
I think we could see Olisesi get some minutes in the remaining games, because he is a bit more of a progressive passer than some of the other options we've got in midfield. I think importantly for him, he has played Premier League matches, like admittedly substitute appearances, but he's done it before. I could see Callum Olisesi playing a role. But I think I agree with you. I'd like to see Tynan Thompson, but I can't see it.
Apparently, Tynan Thompson's being held back because he's not agreed a contract. So
interesting.
Yeah, that comes from, I think it was Milo on the Games About Glory said that. So that's no specific insight from me. I'm just reporting what's been said elsewhere. But
right, okay.
But Mason Miller, I like the look of Mason Miller. He's not like an instinctive finisher, but he links up quite well. But he's learning the game in England. He's only been with us. Well, he joined in the summer or January, and he's been injured basically ever since. He's only just started playing over the last month or two. And then people are saying, "Oh, James Wilson, who's on loan from Scotland," and I'm like, no. He's even more limited than Mason Miller is.
It's not like we've got Will Lancashire, who's got a small amount of experience that you can say, okay, we've got some confidence that he can play in men's football consistently and make a contribution. Again, I think people are getting a little bit overexcited about Will Lancashire, because he had a decent season in the Championship in a poor Oxford side. And I know he was their Player of the Year, but I think we have to take that with a pinch of salt. That it doesn't always translate through to the Premier League. So I'd like to see these young players, but I think De Zerbi would probably sooner put Paulinho up front than James Wilson.
Yeah, he'd probably play Dragusin up front instead of one of those guys.
Good target man. I don't know.
Yeah, the thing with I think the parallel that I keep drawing with Mason Melia is Cameron Lancaster. He goes on the bench as an injury, it just has to be there. Break glass in case of injury, put him on the bench. Cameron Lancaster was never ready to play Premier League football for us, but he went on the bench. He came on and played like 5 or 10 minutes and had a couple of interesting moments. And suddenly everyone was like, "This guy's going to be fantastic for us." And you go, "Did you actually watch him play?" Because a lot of the time he was really isolated, and not that great. And Mason Melia needs to grow into the league. He's still only 18 or 19 years old. He's got so much ahead of him. So
that's
way
the thing
too early. Way too early.
That's the thing as well, right? What if you chuck him on against Chelsea, say, like, we need to get a win, and where it's 1-1 or something like that, and he misses a sitter in the last
Yeah,
minute. Like that's completely unfair to do to a young player like that. That's horrendous. And he would get hammered. He would get absolutely
yeah,
hammered by the supporters because, as we saw with some of the reactions to our players, there are a lot of awful people who claim to support the club, and he would get hammered
yeah.
absolutely. And you know,
You just got to look at the way that Kevin Danso was treated by some people. Kevin Danso's been an excellent player for us
yeah,
this season, and I think he's got a good future with us. He will be a solid member of the squad, if not a starter next season.
yeah,
And people forget everything he did in that game. He was probably one of our better players in this game. He made one mistake or tried to do a little bit too much, and he got absolutely hammered for it and got treated in a way that he did not deserve.
yeah,
Now,
absolutely. And
yeah,
obviously, like all the racist abuse that he got is
yeah,
absolutely abhorrent. But even aside from that, a lot of the supporters, even without bringing any of that into it, we're still being
mm,
really cruel to him and
yeah,
really unfair. Because as you said, he played brilliantly and he's been a great player for us this season. He's a bloody brilliant bloke as well with all the
yeah.
work he does in and around Tottenham and the various food banks and community centres there. And yeah, he's not good enough to wear the shirt. We need to ship him out. Those kind of things. It's just horrendous. It's like he can handle that, right? He's an experienced player. He shouldn't have to, but I'm sure
Yeah.
at his age he can, and at his maturity, he can wear that sort of idiotic criticism. A young player coming in to the league, coming into the country, no,
Yeah,
it's
can you
not fair.
imagine?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'd be completely behind the manager if he decided we can't use these kids, not in this situation, and I'd be,
Hmm.
I'd be absolutely fine with that. um Madders is an interesting one, right? Because we all got a bit excited when he was named on the bench, but it's since come out that he is not really available. He's on the bench, but he's not coming on the pitch anytime soon. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a good idea?
I think it's an indicator of how many injuries we've got in the squad and how few senior players that could actually go on the bench.
Mm,
If we had one senior player that could take that space and potentially come on, then they would be there. But there's no one who's been left out of the squad for James Maddison. It's nice that he can go and he can go warm up and he can shout things from the side. And I think potentially that helps. And I think that might be the thinking. Get the experience as close to the pitch as possible, even if they're not on it. Right. But if he plays any minutes for us this season, I'd be surprised.
yeah,
He's. I haven't kept up fully to date with his recovery and the schedules and stuff, but the things that have been said recently are that he's feeling a bit of pain in his movement and still not 100%. He's not moving 100% pain free. And I mean, as I said, start the show. I've had an Achilles injury. I tore my sorry, not Achilles. I did my cruciate. I tore my cruciate ligament, and it is a horrible, horrible injury, and it takes you a very long time to come back, and it knocks your confidence as well because it's like, oh, this is the pain I'm feeling. Is that down to the injury I had, or is it just the aches and pains you get from playing football normally?
yeah. I actually think it's a good idea. I quite like what he's done because, as you said, I don't think it's really taking anyone's place other than the
Mhm.
youth players, which, as we discussed, not really the right time for for that. Um, would you just? I mean, you'd just be naming another goalkeeper, wouldn't you? At that
We've already
point.
got two on the bench anyway, so
Well, exactly. So I think getting Madison close to the team, close to the pitch, we've seen he's a great motivator and great at speaking to these players, and he's very football intelligent. And he's sort of de facto captain now, right? With Romero being out. I think he maybe wouldn't have done it if Romero was there, but I
Mhm.
think there is a bit of a leadership gulf which Madison's probably filling. So yeah, I quite like it as an idea. I quite like it conceptually. I think I will hate it if Madison comes on and gets injured again
Yeah.
because I think we're going to need him next season, regardless of what division we're playing in, because Xavi Simons is going to be out for a good chunk next season.
7 or 8 months. Yeah.
Yep, we need a help. We need healthy Madison, no matter what league, and he's going to be one of those players. If we go down, we cannot let him go. We're going to
It's
have to hang
kind
on
of
to him.
nuts to think we could be playing in the Championship next season, and at some point be fielding a team with Madison, Kulusevski, and Xavi Simons. I mean, those are three outright Premier League quality players who should not be anywhere near the Championship, but because of their injury situation, that just seems nuts to me. But I will take it every single day of the week.
It is, and look, if we are able to field those players, we will blow teams away
Mm.
in that league. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's a tough league," and it's a competitive league. It is a very competitive league, and yeah, there are good players. It's hard, but quality wise, there is not a team that would be able to field a front four as good
Mm.
as us. Even if it's Will Lancashire at the top of that. There's not going to be, and I don't think it will be because I think we'll hang on to
It would
Solanke.
be.
But you know,
Not 100% sure, but I think he'll get picked up by a team. Um, but we would bring in somebody who would be better than, is it Stuart Armstrong at Wolves? You know, he'll be better than the best Championship striker. We're not gonna be playing with somebody who's 20, 21 years old and still learning the ropes. You know,
no,
there's-
no, we would absolutely bring someone
yeah,
in if that was the case. But it depends who we let go. I mean, arguably, if you had those three behind him, you could play Tell at the nine, and Tell would score 30 goals in the championship. I,
I'll take that. Yeah,
yeah, I think there's a chance that happens. But we will cross that bridge when we come
if we
to
come
it.
to it,
We are
yes.
not there yet. Um, okay, I feel like
Before we go on though, if
yeah,
it's not Spurs, who do you think goes down?
West Ham.
Yeah, I think it's us or West Ham.
Yeah.
That's the
I
only two teams.
I'd love to get into some of the real extreme mathematical stuff that can happen. Like if Newcastle lose all their remaining games and we win all our remaining games, then Newcastle can go down on like
Not
43
happening.
points or something like it's mad. I'd
Not
love to see
happening.
it, but I just no. Um yeah, it'll be us or West Ham. I I
Yeah,
think. So
agreed.
yeah. We will see. Um we've covered the matches, we've covered relegation. As much as we probably don't want to talk about him, we have got a new manager that was appointed since we last spoke. I think on the last pod, we sort of made our thoughts clear on what we thought about Roberto De Zerbi. We didn't want him at the time.
Mhm.
We thought it was probably right that Igor Tudor went, but none of us wanted De Zerbi to come in. Um, I don't want to labour the point too much on our feelings about Roberto De Zerbi as a man, because I kind of think we said our piece on that already. We don't like him. We thought the way he acted with the Mason Greenwood situation was terrible, amongst other incidents that he
Yeah,
has
I'm
been.
glad you said that because there's one other player who he was
Yeah,
involved with. Yeah.
definitely. Look, and I think we've made our feelings clear on that side of him, right? But I do think we need to talk about him as a football manager and what we've seen from him and what we think we will see from him going forward.
hmm yeah, I mean, my opinion of him as a man has not changed, but I'm not going to go on about that. I think people know. know where I stand on that. As a manager, which is how I think I need to base my thoughts for the remaining time that he's at the club, he's the best manager we've had since Ange Postecoglou, because he plays football closest to the style of Ange Postecoglou. He's clearly got something about him. You know, he's got the players already playing better, despite the injuries we've had. But I think he's been given a really, really difficult job to come in and just save us with what, 6, 7 games left when he joined? 7 games when he joined the club. To come in with the fixture list he had, with the end of season run that we've got, to come in and pick up that many points that quickly, I think it was unrealistic. And my hope is that we're not, well, part of me hopes that we're looking for a new manager, but also part of me hopes that we're not looking for a new manager, because it'd just be more upheaval in the summer that's going to have plenty of it. So I think he's a very, very good manager. And if you just base him on the football, which is I think where I need to be, just based on the football, he's probably the best manager we could have got who was available at the time. I can't think of anyone better. I have my thoughts on who we should be looking long term, but that's not happened, probably isn't going to happen now. So I've got to look and say, right, what does he bring to the table? And I think when we played that Brighton game, Hutzler said when he joined Brighton, he didn't have to do too much work with the players on the way that the team played. There's just little tweaks here and there. Okay, because they were already playing the kind of football that he wanted, right? With that vertical passing movement back and forth and moving the ball through quickly with automations and things like that. And I think we saw in our game against Brighton just how good that can look, because Brighton at times were fantastic. And if he can build a side playing the football that Brighton does, but with a Tottenham-sized budget, we will be extremely good. We will be extremely good. And if it takes us a season or two to get there, I'm okay. I'm prepared to take that time. I mean, if we have to suffer a little bit more for another season, if we have to deal with 10th next season or 12th, I'll take it. You know,
Yeah.
let's just get back to playing good football and enjoying it.
I pretty much agree with everything you said there. For me, there's a bit of regret around the fact that we did not just appoint him right after Ange, because you can see there's a logical transition there between the playing styles of the two. And I think if you were to give the Zerbi a couple of transfer windows, we probably would be challenging for the European places this season. But it's been kind of managerial mistake after managerial mistake, right? We hung on to Frank for way too long, and then if we appointed De Zerbi when we appointed Tudor, would we be in this mess? Probably not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think he's a good manager, and I think he'll do well for us. I think he will stay if we go down. I can't see him walking away from that contract, and we're not going to give him a payout of the massive amount that he's on. So yeah, I am, for a football side of things, not getting into anything on a personal side of things about him. I can live with Roberto De Zerbi as Spurs manager. That's where I'm at. I'm doing the art from the artist thing a bit, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I am.
I don't like it.
That's what I'm doing. You know.
Yeah, I think we have to do it. I think we have to do it, because if we constantly go on about this, we're just inviting more struggle and more stress. Right? I think as long as people know where we stand on some of the things he said and some of the things he's done, some of the players he signed, you know, if he was to go out and try and sign Mason Greenwood this summer, there would be massive uproar, and we would be very, very unhappy. If we went out and tried to sign Ilawahi this summer, exactly the same thing. As someone who seems, I'm watching more and more of the women's football this season, I feel even more badly constrained by my feelings, because I'm trying to support the women's side, and yet still having to try and talk about a football team led by a guy who basically apologizes or is an apologist for rape and domestic abuse. Alleged rape. I've got to say it, alleged rape and
Got to say
alleged
alleged.
domestic.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
no, I'm not happy with him as the man, but I'm happy with him as a manager. And yeah, as you said, separating the art and the artist, we're in a position now where we have to do that. We as individuals have zero power over who this guy is, right? But who our manager is. We just have to take it. I mean,
I,
when Ange left, I wanted Francesco Farioli to come in, who's now gone to Portsmouth, who's doing extremely well and is being linked with bigger clubs again. Yeah, we don't get what we want. We get what's given to us, and that's what we have to deal with as fans.
I, I just think it's important that we, as supporters of the club, continue to hold him to account.
Mm-hmm.
Not only kind of for what he's said previously, but for his future actions.
Yeah.
And I wasn't particularly impressed with the interview he gave where he spoke about it. I thought it was a bit of a non-apology, but I didn't expect him to address it at all. So it shows that there is some small part of recognition within the club that people are unhappy with it, and it is something that needs to be addressed. So
Mm.
I think he has to just be kept, on a very short leash on that front. And as you said, if he does go out and start trying to sign problematic players or behaving in an inappropriate way in training, then we need to make a big deal out of it, essentially, because it will show that he's repeating patterns of behavior that he's done before, right?
Yeah.
I think that's
I
on all of
think
us.
I think we also need to be cognizant that Spurs, this is not the first time Spurs have dipped their toes into slightly murky waters, right? We
Yeah,
signed Serge Aurier, who had his issues with the law and, had been accused of things back in France. We had Hugo Lloris, who was done for drink driving at excessive speed in London. We had Gaza, who, irregardless of his personal problems, an admitted wife beater. We had Glenn Hoddle at our club after the Eileen Drury comments, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean that as someone who has a brother with problems, the comments he made at that time were thoroughly undeserved and just not acceptable.
yeah.
So Spurs, this is not the first time Spurs have gone down a route that we do not agree with, right?
Mm.
Or Spurs have not taken the action that they should have. But again, it's what power do we have as fans? I think I have personally taken all the actions I can. I've cancelled my Spurs Play subscription. I won't be signing up for it again, you know, simply because I don't want to be giving extra money to the club if they're going to be making decisions like that. But again, when it comes to the players on the pitch, the players on the pitch get my full support, right? Regardless of the guy who chooses which players go out there.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think the way everyone chooses to interact or not interact with the club as a result
Yeah.
of the Zerbi's appointment is completely valid, and fair enough. You do you, everyone. Right, from that, let's bring it up a bit. Let's be a bit more positive.
Are we going to go positive?
We're not going to well, maybe not so positive. We're not going to talk about Zerbi, and we're not going to talk about relegation anymore. However, we do have a meta question that we would like to ask, and it's kind of a double-sided meta question. We're gonna take the rough with the smooth. So the question is, which Spurs era would be the worst one to be trapped in for a year, and which would be the best one?
So the way we talked about this originally is which one would you be trapped in Groundhog Day style? So it's a year that just keeps on repeating time and time and time again.
Yeah,
And I can think of no season worse than the 1997-1998 season, which started with Jerry Francis. And then after a number of disappointing losses, we brought in a wunderkind Swiss manager called Christian Gross, who turned up with his underground
Ticket.
tickets, and this is the ticket to my dreams, and didn't really turn out that way. We lost more games. We lost games that we really shouldn't have lost. We played very, very badly. Players picked up injuries, which didn't help. That was the first season without Teddy Sheringham, and Teddy Sheringham came back with Manchester United, and they thrashed us. They beat us soundly. It was not good. It started out with a 1-0 loss at home to Crystal Palace. That's Crystal Palace that finished at the bottom of the league that season. We lost to Coventry. That's Coventry who went down that season. We lost 6-1 at home to Chelsea in December. That was really, really bad. Let me just read you a few results. Liverpool 4, Spurs 0. Aston Villa 4, Spurs 1. Leicester City 3, Spurs 0. Spurs 0, Blackburn 0, Spurs 0, Wimbledon 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Spurs 0, Barnsley 1, Spurs 1. That is an awful run of games. These are clubs that every single one of those clubs we should have beaten at that time. Right, and it's not like we didn't have good players. We had David Janilla, Les Ferdinand, both in their first season at the club. Les Ferdinand sadly was injured a lot. Darren Anderton, still an extremely good player, but missed a lot of the season. Nicola Berti, right? We all love Nicola Berti.
A very attractive
Ramon
man,
Vega,
but
yeah,
you
very
know.
attractive. Ramon Vega, lovely head of hair, not always the best defender, but we had good players. And then in December, we brought Jurgen Klinsmann back, and really bringing Jurgen Klinsmann back was what saved us, because without him, we would have been in real trouble. He scored 4 goals in one game against Wimbledon. 6-2 win away against Wimbledon, the 2nd of May 1998. And that was the game that really got us out of trouble. Without him, we would have been absolutely snookered. So, yeah, that was the worst season I can remember as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. And I just remember feeling so down about it and just amazed that Christian Gross managed to actually still be manager the following season. Luckily, it didn't last too much longer, but he managed to start the 1998-1999 season as Tottenham Hotspur manager, and that was crazy.
Do you know what? I think the fact we got out of it and Klinsmann saved us makes that not the worst one for me, because it'd be kind of be like if we had signed Sonny back in January,
Yeah,
and he was digging us out of relegation. Now there's just something a bit like sweet and poetic about that. But yeah, no, that was an awful year with the results you mentioned and stuff.
and the
Like, that
football was
I remember
abysmal.
them. It was terrible. It was truly awful. My worst one, a bit more of a recent one. I haven't gone back to the 90s with this. I'm going to go back to peak COVID 2020, 2021, Jose Mourinho. No fans in the ground, shit football, empty stadiums, Gareth Bale back, no one's allowed to watch him. The sheer depression of having Bale, Kane, Son
Sonny,
playing for Jose Mourinho in an empty stadium.
Dele Alli behind
Just
him, Christian
absolutely
Eriksen.
painful.
Oh, yeah. Was
Just
that the meme season? Was that the season that they had the cameras in, right? And it was Dele Alli coming in. It's like all
yeah,
we
it
do
was.
is defend and kick the ball fucking long to Harry
Yeah,
Kane.
that's right. It was the all or nothing.
Yeah.
It was the. I think it may have been a bit of the season before because yeah, but yes, it would have covered a lot of that
That
time period
yeah.
as
No,
as
that
well.
was a bad season.
Yeah, just horrible circumstances, horrible football. We didn't even have a good league finish to show for it either. It really felt like the worst we'd been in a long time as well. Yeah, so that's my. I wouldn't want to relive that over and over again.
Just a chance to see Gareth Bale again. Gareth Bale, Sonny, Harry Kane at their pomp. I mean, there was some good stuff being played that season. There were some good results. It petered out pretty badly.
Yeah. I feel it's kind of got that. The season you mentioned kind of has the it was undoubtedly a crap season,
Yeah,
but there was like a sweetness to Klinsmann coming back and saving us, and there was in the season I mentioned there was a bitterness to Gareth Bale coming back, but no one being there to see him.
yeah.
There's just something just a little bit heartbreaking about that to me.
No, definitely. That is the
And
ultimate disappointment of that season. Of
yeah,
Gareth Bale being there and nobody being able to cheer him in the stadium. And then we didn't keep hold of him for the following season when we really should have tried. Really
it's
should have tried.
your best era.
I mean, it's got to be from the Pochettino time, right? Pochettino was probably the best Tottenham Hotspur manager that I can remember in my lifetime. Certainly in my Spurs supporting lifetime. He was he was a manager who made us proud to watch Tottenham Hotspur and be Tottenham Hotspur fans. He got the team playing in a way that we were all fully behind, and it was great until that last season. We're not going to talk about that last season, but we're going to talk about the 2016-2017 season. 86 points, second place in the league, unbeaten at White Hart Lane in that season. 86 goals scored, 26 conceded. Harry Kane got the golden boot. Probably Dele Alli's best season. Ericsson, fantastic. Dembele, Wanyama having the season of their lives behind them. Carl Walker, Danny Rose as our fullbacks, Alderweireld and Vertonghen as our centre-backs. I mean, for me, that is just heaven. That was a brilliant, fantastic season. And yeah, so what if we finish second? It was the best season I can remember as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. It was just amazing.
I can't help but smile. Like hearing
Just
those
with the
names,
names.
hearing that team, it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, they were good times. And I think it's important that you would pick the like not the Leicester season
Yeah.
because again that was the one where there was a bit of bitterness at the end of that. But I definitely think it was Chelsea won the league, didn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but yeah, it was
If you take that Leicester season and the season following, that you take the points from those two, we were the best side in the
yeah.
country across those two seasons. We had the most points.
Yeah, and we are talking eras, not seasons, so you can
Yeah.
have the whole Poch era if you want, and maybe end it at the Champions League, maybe end it at Amsterdam,
End it at
and
Amsterdam.
then
End the Champions League at Amsterdam because that's where it ended
yeah,
for me. Yeah.
yeah, and then we can all imagine and pretend that we went on to win it. My era that I want to be trapped in, um, I'd love to go back to the full-on Harry Redknapp banter era where it was just a load of fun to support Spurs. And we had like just brilliant players that all had a bit of character and your Robbie Keanes, your Jermaine Defoe's, but even the players that were kind of a bit weird and a bit fun, like Nico Kranjčar, who was brilliant.
Super Pav.
The Pavlyuchenko,
Yeah.
like and of course Bale, and I think Redknapp signed Dembele as well, so you get a bit of Dembele in there as well. And really, I'd like to go and just be stuck in that whole period of Redknapp taking over from Juan de Ramos and bringing us up, kind of right up until the Champions League run, where he had the win against AC Milan, and maybe stop it there. Maybe that's where my point stops. Is the win at AC Milan. Crouch and Defoe were brilliant. It's when we had players that played for England as well. That was great as well. That was wonderful to see. Crouch scoring against away at Man City to qualify us for the Champions League.
From the
Yeah,
Kabul cross. Yeah.
Kabul, I believe. Yeah.
Brilliant header. Kabul playing at right back in that game when he was really a centre back. Yeah.
Well, you got the brilliant North London Derby took place in that, didn't
Yeah.
it, with the Eunice Cabal winner? There was so many brilliant moments in that. The Bentley from the halfway line and chucking the bucket over Redknapp. It's just a really fun. It was a fun time to be a football fan, and it was a fun time to support Spurs as well. So
Simpler
yeah,
days. Simpler days.
really were. They really were.
Yeah.
But we had some brilliant players as well, and players that I'd happily watch. Like the team that had Bale, Van der Vaart, Modric in it. I mean, it's an all-time Spurs team. That I
Yeah.
know we had a few players in there that were not quite not quite up to it, but it was bloody good.
Did I hear
It'd
Kevin
be
Prince Boateng?
yeah.
Yeah.
Please
Adulterate.
don't mention him. I was at the semi-final against Portsmouth. And
Oh,
yes.
the thing I think about Harry Redknapp is a lot of people underestimated his ability as a manager to actually coach a side. Um, we not only played scintillating football going forward, but we had a really good defensive plan as well. Whereas if we lost the ball, everybody got back into their places and effectively said, "We're going to make you pass it out wide and then swing across in and try and beat our huge central defenders in the air." Right? And we had good central defenders at the time who were pretty good at mopping everything up. And we just like, okay, you do what you want, but what you're going to do is you're going to put a ball in that plays to our strengths. We're not going to have you passing through us. We're going to give you an avenue. You're going to knock a ball in, and we're going to head it out, and we're going to start again. And it was a really simple plan that worked. And I just keep looking at sides sometimes and go, why don't you just do the basics properly? Certainly when you look at Tottenham, do the basics properly, and it can work out.
He knew how to build a squad as well, didn't he? And he knew
Yeah,
when to shift players when we'd got the best out of them.
yeah.
That's a really important thing that we're missing today. Sometimes you need the Louis Sahas and the Ida Good Johnsons of the world just to come in and do a job. And I know people took the mickey out of him a bit around, oh, he'll do a job, he'll come in and run around a bit, that wheeler dealer sort of thing that he hated. But
We got
I
the wrong
think
Louis though, didn't we? We wanted Luis Suarez and got Luis Saha.
but I think there's some merit in that, right? And it's kind of the antithesis of the Johan Langer. Well, we didn't want to panic in the January transfer window, and therefore
Yeah,
we,
that man.
are in the mess we're in now, right? This would never have happened in those days. We would have got 3 or 4 players in, and we would have played our way out of it. And 2 of them might have been total flops, but 2 of them would have saved our bacon. It's just the way things were. And yeah, maybe I'm getting a bit old and I'm a bit nostalgic for that era of my life as well. But it felt like a good time. So yeah,
Yeah, it was good. It was fun.
okay. That's a good mayor question. I like that. It was a good
Yeah, it was
discussion. It's
good.
brought a smile to my face. So before we wrap up, we want to go to Blue Sky and social
Our spiritual
media,
home.
our spiritual home. You can find us both there. And Skeets of the Month. I think just in general, on social media, massive collective head loss in general has been the kind of tone after every match that doesn't go very well, and kind of every match for West Ham and Nottingham Forest that doesn't go very well
Mm.
either. It's a tough time to have a presence anywhere, I think, but we're getting through it. We're getting through with some with some fun. So Skeets of the month that you would like to call out?
So there's your usual suspects. You've got Matt Spate, who's consistently funny. That makes me laugh. You've got Reno Wallabout, who has been mentioned far too many times in these Geeks of the Month.
Can't give it
But
to
I've got a
him.
new name.
You can't give it to Reno. He's won far
No,
too
no, you
many.
can't. No. I mean, you've got the end of season awards coming up. He's got to be a strong contender in there somewhere. But
Very
for
much so.
me, somebody I pretty much never followed before, never heard of, but Chris Clark. Chris Clark, 1975. He wrote, Gallagher reminds me of my dog. will chase a ball all day but can't fucking pass it. So, yep,
That's
there we go.
amazing. I love it.
That's my skin of the month.
Yeah, that was fun. I took to Chris a fair bit on there. He's good value. Yeah, so that's a really good one. Um, my one is, and again, I think we might have to retire him from winning Skeets of the Month, but I can't. I kind of can't not recognize the work that went into the Tottenham player portmanteau matrix
Hmm.
um, that Ian from Tottenham Hotspur came up with. Um, it is it's a massive grid of all of our first team squad and what their names would be if you combined their names. You know, like Bettinia that people would be doing, and um, I can't think of some of the others, but that's the one that comes to mind, Bettinia. But like some of these, like Porro and Kudus, Porus, Spencer Odobert, Spenderbert, and stuff like this. And there's just some really weird ones in here. But he's gone through the whole squad and put together a portmanteau of all of their
Yeah,
names. So I just wanted to shout out the the effort there. And
the
if you
sheer
thought a
brilliance.
man and just a man that finds time to listen to every single Tottenham Hotspur podcast out there, still finding time to do stuff like this,
Yeah,
kudos, absolute kudos to him.
yeah. My favourite one is Odemans, which is Simmons and Odebert.
There's a
Odemans.
good
There we go.
Odebear's got a few good ones in there as well.
He does. Yeah.
Porro, of course, has got some good ones because depending on whether there's an N in there, it becomes porn something or other. I think him and Kinski's like Porn Ski or something like that, or Porn Sky, which sounds like an area of blue sky that we shan't venture to. But yes, some very funny things in there. So do go and have a look. Um,
And if anybody's got their own Skeet of the Month, can they put it in the comments section down below?
would be a very, very good idea and much appreciated. And yeah, if you want to portmanteau any of our names, like go for it. Stowen. Does that work?
Owit. Owit.
Oh, yeah,
Owit.
could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, if you've made it this far, thank you ever so much for listening to us. You've made it to the end. Well done. We love you. Thank you. We're gonna, as Stu said, encourage a bit of audience participation in this. So we're gonna play a little game. Um, and how you play is you leave your answer in the comments of whatever service you're listening to us on or watching us if you're watching the video version on YouTube. So in my intro this month, you may have noticed that I mentioned a load of bands, a load of punk and punk rock adjacent bands in the intro. The question is, how many did I mention? You can list them out if you want. We just want to know the number. How many did I mention? The winner will win absolutely nothing of value other than a call out on the next episode. So there you
Respect.
go. Yeah. Hopefully that's a little bit of fun that takes a bit of the terror away from the impending relegation. Thank you, Stu, for joining me tonight, and thank you all for listening. We will see you next month, and come on, you Spurs.
Yep, yep, yep.